Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Minding My Mental Health. Today, I am Tanitria Williams, and we are going live here with Miss Khe-Shun Robinson Henry, I'm actually going to let you share it. You're the Senior Director for,
For the Southeast Division. So I basically manage all of the project work, any of the remodels that would happen in the Southeast Division for one of the retailers.
okay, and you work for the corporate giant of Walmart.
I do. I love it. I've been here for 24 years,
Wow.
right? Long time, 24 years. And I would say that Walmart probably is the only place where you can work and you can have as many careers under one umbrella that you could ever possibly want without ever having to go and fill out another W-2 form. You can do it all under the same umbrella. Love it.
So before we get started, I want to just give people a moment to jump on here. I'm going to make sure that I'm looking here, sharing the broadcast. Khe-Shun, feel free to share the broadcast. I want to make sure that it's here. If you are joining us, we want you to hashtag live. Let us know where you're watching from. And if you're watching the replay, I want you to hashtag replay. And then again, let us know where you're watching from. So I want to make sure it's broadcasting.
Perfect.
Yep, I see you here on my professional page. I want to go to my personal page and make sure it's showing up. I didn't want you to get all this good information and people not be able to catch it. There it is. Okay. Okay, I'm going to close that out. Okay, so we are good. So, all right, Khe-Shun. So first of all, let me just say I've been knowing Khe-Shun for a long time. When I was in college, I don't remember exactly what year I met you, but it was probably when I first came to college, which was 1998, and we'll just leave it there. Khe-Shun has always been super, just a solid person. Like you always get the same Khe-Shun every time. So just a genuine person who is always very professional, always very, very classy, but also very relatable. And so, Khe-Shun, thank you very much for joining me today. You guys make sure you are sharing and tagging your friends and family in this. So let's just jump into Khe-Shun. Of course, we're talking about minding my mental health. You know that I am a licensed professional counselor, and I believe that one of my assignments is to actively go out and tear down the stigma surrounding getting mental health care, taking care of our mental health in the world in general, but specifically with the African American community. There is still a lot of beliefs that counseling won't help. There's still a lot of beliefs that we need to just handle everything in-house. You know, by in-house, I literally mean within the confines of our home with our family of origin. We don't let things out. And so again, I'm kind of on a mission to tear down that stigma, to let people know, number one, that you can be highly successful and still take care of your mental health and to address those things. And it doesn't matter how successful you are, you still have to take care of your mental health. And that's the other part of kind of my mission. I see Centrisa, I want you to share, tag, comment, everything. If you guys have questions for Khe-Shun, please feel free to put them in the chat. If you have questions for me, feel free to put it in the chat. So again, I'm on a mission to really begin to tear down that idea that success means forsaking yourself and just going after that prize. And so I just want to talk to you about your experiences through being in the corporate world, but also being able to handle and address your mental health. So first question.
If I can say one thing, right? So when we're growing up in an African American or Black household, you were always told what happens in this house stays in this house, right? And you don't even realize when you get to be 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, that there are some things that you've bottled up, you've put on the shelf, you've tucked away that actually set you up to have trauma as an adult because you don't get to work through those things. And so one of the things that I've been very intentional, I have a son that's 25, Tyler, that I'm very intentional with him about is if there is something that bugs you, stress you out, all of the things that would make you want to tuck something away, don't care what it is, this is we have open doors in this house. Like there's nothing that you can't come and talk to me about. Or if it's not me that you want to talk to, I'll get you to someone else. And I actually had to do that for Tyler. He had some issues when my niece passed away, some grief issues. And there was nothing when I'm dealing with grief, he's dealing with grief. It's really tough to try to help him navigate the waters. And so I was very intentional about getting him someone outside of the house. And so I would tell you that old adage of, what goes on in the house stays in the house, bust it up and let it go. It's not productive and actually does not set you up to live a free life.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And I'm glad you shared that. And it'll show up, even those things you mentioned, the word trauma. That trauma, if we don't deal with it, it'll show up even in our careers. Mm-hmm. So if you had some trauma growing up as a child and you dealt with rejection, if you don't get the promotion, you may start doing things on your job that's a reflection of some unresolved trauma, even from childhood. So I'm so glad you brought that up, because I think that's important, that we're able to really explore ourselves and get in a place where we're at peace with ourselves. And then as we are pursuing our careers and doing all of those things, we can do that from a healthy perspective and from a healthy place. So let's jump into this, Ms. Khe-Shun. Tell me, I know to get to the level that you are in corporate America, that you've had to make some sacrifices in life. You've had to work long hours and do certain things. How do you balance at the time when you were raising Tyler, just being, you're a wife, you're a mom, how do you balance that career as well as your personal life?
I think it's one that you have to pivot depending on where you are in life and kind of where you are from a position standpoint. When I first started in corporate, I started hourly and I was a single parent at the time. And so a very different landscape of how to navigate, because at that point it was about putting in the hours, doing the work to show the value so that I could move into management, so that I could get to the next level. The great thing about that is that I had a wonderful support system with my mom and sisters who could help balance me out. And so when you start to navigate the waters, I think it's real important to understand if you have yourself set up for the right system to be able to navigate. I'll tell you that when we say balance, work and life, that word probably is a little misleading. My opinion. I think it's more about navigating the waters. When you say balance, that assumes that the scale is equal on both sides. It never is, right? There's things that happen in your life. There's things that will happen on your job that may tip the scale one way or the other. There's always more irons in the fire in one area or the other that causes you to be a little lopsided in kind of your approach. I think the one thing to understand is that it's critical to understand when you are out of alignment, when you don't have balance or you aren't navigating well, because if you aren't intentional about getting to a great place of how you move within those waters, you will start to see things that will happen on your job from a productivity standpoint, in your home, with your spouse, with your kids, with the things that you do from a community standpoint. And so making sure that you have the right support system and you understand when you get out of alignment, that you can recognize it and be able to do the things to help get you back on track so that you aren't upside down in this approach and trying to figure out if you really have to be 50-50. You don't have to be 50-50 all the time. You should be close. And there may be times where the scales may tip, but it's about understanding when they do, how you pull yourself back and then navigate differently to get more in balance or more in step.
So for you, when you can look and you say, oh, maybe I'm a little too heavy over here on my home life, or I'm a little too heavy over here in the corporate world or whatever, what are the signs for you to say, this is a surefire way that I know I'm not in alignment?
So the one for me, and this was a recent one, and I was like, whoa, what just happened here? My husband was like, you have time for everything else, like everything else. You have your class that you do on Mondays, you travel a lot. I travel a lot for work. You travel a lot for work. You have your Monday night class. Now you got something on Wednesday nights. You have all of these things, and there does not, like, I don't know where I fit in all of this. was like, oh, wait,
So he brought it up to you. He didn't wait on you
said
to
it.
recognize it.
He said it. And so that when you have to listen to the people around you, you have to understand if I was spending more time, if I had time to go to lunch with girlfriends before and now they call and they ask and I never have time to go, you have to listen to the cues that they give you around how you the things that you may have been doing to support or have a life outside of either way, where you are too far on either side, to listen to the cues and recognize that, hey, they're not just making this up, right? There is something that may be a little different, and then you have to go back and assess what that is to make sure that you understand kind of where you're out of balance.
Yeah. So as you're navigating through the corporate world and in your own mental health, what are some beliefs that you've had to challenge or overcome to feel like you're able to be successful?
I think that one of the beliefs, and are you talking personal beliefs or things that are systematic?
Really anything. I mean, because I believe our belief system really sets us up for success or failure, depending on what it is. And so what are some of those, just something you've had to say, I really had to attack that way of thinking to overcome that?
That I didn't deserve to be here.
How did you do that? What was your plan to get, or how did you, just that's it.
I know, right? You're like, what? Yeah, that's like a big one, because when you start to move up the ladder and you start to progress, not everybody's going to be in your corner. Not everybody's rallying for you. Not everybody's excited to see you move, especially if there's people that you start with and then you start to move and they don't move, right? There becomes this resentment maybe of your success. That makes you feel like there's something wrong, or you should not be as excited, or you should hold back your excitement about this new thing, this promotion, or this bigger responsibility that you have. And I think that that's probably the biggest one for me, just on a personal, was that, wow, I don't know if I deserve to be here. The thing you have to do is make sure you got the right folks in your corner, because if those folks can't get excited for you, if they aren't going to be in your corner, rallying for you, pushing you, asking how they can help, those are the questions that the people in your circle should be asking to understand how they can help you be more successful. And then understanding that there is this, I owe it to reach back and help, right? If there's things that I know that made me successful in role to get to the next level, then it's my responsibility to some degree to reach back and help the folks that are behind me. And I think other demographics do it much better than we do it. As Blacks, African Americans, we don't do that so well for whatever reason.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say specifically, you're talking about being in this space as a Black woman. What are some challenges or unique challenges that you faced as a Black woman in corporate America?
I think one of the big ones was this pressure to assimilate. Like there was this weight about, do you go natural? Do you continue to straighten your hair? We went to where we had more relaxed environment from a dress code, right? And for me, like the way you see me today is typically the way I am. I typically don't wear jeans, but it was, do I wear jeans because everybody else is wearing jeans? And that's not what I do, right? I dress the way I dress and I'm comfortable with it. But then you start to find, and sometimes I will wear jeans, but I'll put it on with a blazer and a nice shirt and heels, right? Because I'm 6 feet, but I'm not tall enough, right? And so all the things that you do, and I found myself trying to dress down to fit into what they thought I should. And I just really felt uncomfortable with it. And I was like, yeah, this is not my jam. Like, this is not my thing. I am who I am, and I'm going to do it the way I'm going to do it. So I think there's pressure, there I'm tall, right? I'm 6 feet. People will use your tone. I have a heavy voice. People will sometimes think you need to change all the things that are your personal attributes, your height, your stature, the way you dress, the way you talk. If you're articulate, you're trying to be too smart. It's all the things that people will throw on you to try to make you feel like you should be something other than what you are. I think sometimes in corporate, you do see these instances where people will code switch just because sometimes it's easier. I won't get into a lot of that, but there are times when people will do it because they feel like they have to. I think that in corporate America, sometimes there is this fear of, or there may be opportunities where you become isolated. And by that, I mean you are the only one of you in the room. And what does that look like? How do you feel about being the only Black woman in the room? Do you get small? Do you stay big? Do you have a voice? Do you quiet your voice? And kind of how do you play in that particular space? I think that when you are the only one in a room, sometimes it can become easy for people to think that you are the face of all Black women in America. And you become their standard of what they think all Black women are, or how they behave and how they act, or they want you to be the representation of all Black people. And so you have to work really hard to make sure that people understand that within any demographic, there are diversity within any demographic, and that not all of us, not one of us can speak for all of us.
Yeah. So when you've been that only person, did you feel the pressure, or were you pretty confident in being in that space?
It was both, believe it or not. So I felt the pressure of, but then there was this thing over here that said, but because you are, you have to. And so it was pretty interesting, because at the time, being in the room, what I understood is that, and this is where I think there's a miss for us in corporate America, is that we don't seek mentors within our world. And by seeking mentors, I mean, you could tell me, hey, Nitra, you could say, hey, I think Sue should be your mentor, right? Well, Sue may not be the fit for me. And I'm not exactly sure why you think Sue is. And we will just accept that Sue should be the mentor. And we don't go and seek out the person that is going to be the most beneficial to you from a personal and or professional level. You just accept what somebody gave you as the who should be. We take it and then we run with it. And then you realize you have a person that's not real interested in helping you grow and or develop. But because somebody said Sue is the person, we just went with Sue, and we're putting all of our eggs in the basket with Sue. And so I would tell you that as you get into corporate America, or anywhere, right? Anywhere, find a mentor, find somebody that can be in the rooms. And I've talked a little bit about this, but what you really want to get, the mentor kind of guides you on your journey. What you really want to have is a sponsor. And the sponsor is the person that talks about you in rooms that you have no access to. That's really where you want to get to the place. You want to get to the place where you have built your brand in such a way that it defines who you are, and everybody knows who you are based on kind of how you built your brand, and that you're true to your brand, and that you have someone that in the rooms that you aren't in, the circles above you and the circles above the circles that are above you, who's the person that's saying, Khe-Shun is this person. Oh yeah, I know Khe-Shun. She worked on this project with me, and here's what I can tell you about her. You really want to sponsor. Mentors are great because they guide you on the journey. They kind of the roadmap. They help you get there. The sponsor is the person that's going to help you really map the course of the destination, the final destination.
How does a mentor or a sponsor relate to somebody from a personal perspective? Like if you were having a hard time in something with your family or in your marriage or life, handle that. Did you hear me?
I can now. I think we're asking how mentor and sponsor in the relationship to your personal, and the relationship personally. How do you? Was that the question?
Do you talk to them about your personal issues, or would you handle that outside of that environment or that relationship?
Why? You work with these people, and if you have issues that are personal issues, you probably should have a different group of people that is your group of people that you can manage that. You don't want to bring in all of your stuff from outside your home into work, and then you have those folks all in your house, all in your business, all in your whatever it is. I think there should really be a fine line between what you share with people at work and who you allow to help navigate those things that are personal life issues. And I think sometimes we get caught up in this circle where we think because Khe-Shun's great and I know her from work, and then you start to dump those folks don't want to hear that stuff. I mean, you actually make people back up off you a little bit when you go in and you start talking about those very personal things with people. You can sometimes make people a little skittish because they are there to help you navigate in that environment. And I think sometimes we think there's a one size fit all, or one person for everything. There isn't. And so you have to figure out who's the person that you can talk to regarding things at work. Find you a good girlfriend that's going to hold you accountable for the things that are outside of work. Get you some kind of community that helps you for those issues, but you definitely should not, in my opinion, should not be mixing the two.
Okay, so what I heard was allow some people in your environment, in your corporate world, to help you navigate that world, but don't allow that to be your complete support system, because it starts to get a little murky. And it probably could actually even hurt you in some instances. Yes. Because they know everything that's going on, and they may say, oh, she's got a lot going on. She's not ready for that promotion. Mm-hmm. She's got a lot going on. And so what I'm hearing is it's good and encouraged to seek that outside help. And I know a lot of corporations have EAP programs or some type of system where they will either cover some counseling sessions or they are open to that. Do you feel that the corporate environment is encouraging of people seeking mental health services, or is that kind of frowned upon in your opinion or in your experience?
I think it's becoming more of the norm, even though it's a small percentage of people. I think people are still finding their way in that space. I think people are still a little bit nervous about seeking out to get help for emotional stress or anxiety and some of those things. And it doesn't have to even be anything that is detrimental to you, but it could be things that if you don't get a handle on, that could kind of drag you in a space that could be a little gray, right? And so if you get a little anxiety around certain things or deadlines at work or things at home, I think that corporate America has become more inclusive of being able to provide support for people that need that kind of assistance, because it is just like you going to the doctor for anything else, in my opinion. And I think it is one that we really owe it to the people that work for us in these organizations to be able to help them be whole, total body wellness, not just physical, able to come in, sit at your desk and do the job, because the mental piece of it does affect how well you are able to do the work. And I think as corporations start to understand it's this total body of wellness that we're after, you'll have more productive people that work for you. You will get more out of your employees if they are 100%, right? If they are totally well fit.
Absolutely. Now, Khe-Shun, how do you maintain staying in a healthy place emotionally and mentally?
I have a community. And so I have a group of women. What does that mean?
You have a community. People may hear that and say, well, I live in a community too. What does that
mean? I have a small group of women. It's not so small, but it's a group of 70 women that's in this mentoring circle that really probably is the biggest change that I've made over the past 3 years, that really set me up to be able to navigate the waters, because I've been promoted twice in the past three years. And so those are fast promotions, thank you, that have happened. And had I not had this group of women that have been able to help guide me, or when I feel I'm not good enough, I don't deserve, when I have those thoughts that kind of get me a little bit off track, that I can go to them and talk and say, hey, here's kind of what I'm feeling. And we kind of talk and work through it so it doesn't become something I sit in. So I think that is one. Another thing that I do is, and I was really upside down, I'll be totally honest, right? Because that's what we're doing today, is we're being honest about this self-care and mental health piece. I was upside down. When I first got 2 promotions ago, I had to be there 24/7 almost. Like I was going to be the super employee. I was going to be the person that was doing it all. You were never going to be asking me for it, never going to be late on anything. I'm just going to just burn the candle at both ends and the middle as well, right? And I started to get to a place where I didn't enjoy what I did anymore. And I started to really have to take a step back and say, something's like there is something that's misaligned with kind of how I'm working. I wasn't sleeping well. I gained a lot of weight, headaches all the time. I was really upside down, snappy, snarky with the husband, short with the kid, and short with some of the people that worked with me, or a little bit sharper. Or my husband would say I was real nice to the people I worked with, because those were the people I was trying to please, right? I was trying to make sure they saw me as this very valued employee. And then I would be snappy at home, or, you would be on a conference call and I would get off the call and my husband would say, I would ask him something, he would ask something, I would snap. And he would say, well, I wish you would talk to me like he literally said this. I wish you would talk to me like the person you just hung up, because they didn't get all of this attitude that you're giving me. And I was like, whoa, like this is, like, why is that? And I had to go back and self-reflect. I started doing things like, and for me, it was a little bit tougher. Like I couldn't go pull out an hour every day to do it. For me, it was about how do you get just 15 minutes to where you can sit with nothing, just sit with yourself. How do I get 30 minutes to go read something that I really love? How do I get 20 minutes to go take a walk? How can I get a bubble bath in this week? Can I get a mani-pedi in this week? It's all of those things. Can I get like a really hot cup of tea and curl up on the couch and watch a movie? And so I started to integrate those things back into the week. And it was a little at a time, so that I could make sure that I was staying true to me, but I was staying true to my family. Because at the end of the day, I can run fast every day and every moment that I'm at work. And if I drop dead today, literally, my position would likely be filled in a week. They would have someone covering my area tomorrow, right? And so it was, how do you get the balance to where you're not so upside down that you give everything to everyone else? It goes back to the how can you pour, and you pour out, right? You pour to everybody else. Well, eventually, all the pouring is going to result in an empty vessel. How can you pour from an empty vessel? You can't. When it's empty, there is nothing left to pour. Right. And so how do you get to a place where you can renew, that you can replenish, that you can restore, so that you have something to give?
So you said a lot. I want to kind of recap what I heard from that.
Okay.
The first thing I heard was there was a time when you were out of balance, out of alignment, and you started to recognize some of the signs. And so I want people to go ahead and put in the comment section, what are some of those signs that you've recognized within yourself when you're out of alignment? Khe-Shun said she was snapping at her husband and she was short with her son. And those are some pretty common signs of, hey, I know for me, I used to work a lot of hours. And when I would get home, I was like, I don't want to talk to really anybody. I didn't want to hear anybody's problem. I didn't want to hear any of those things. And I had to say, I have to reserve some for myself. I have to reserve some for my family. I cannot give it all at work. And so that is very important, that we can start to learn about what those signs are. And then I also heard you saying, once I recognized, hey, I'm not being kind or as kind to my family as I am at work, I want to put that into order. You started to make small adjustments where you could get them. And I think sometimes people think it has to be some massive overhaul all at once. Like, I'm going to just take a leave of absence for 3 months. Well, you may not be able to do that, but what you may be able to do is to say, I'm going to start eating my lunch away from my desk, and I'm going to take my lunch, like I'm actually going to eat lunch, and it's not going to be at my desk. I'm going to go outside when it's a pretty day and take a walk for a few minutes. And so I think those are all really important things that we start to learn. I started to notice, for me, I started stretching at the end of my day. Like, sometimes people don't realize how tense they are, how much anxiety they've carried in their body all day. And so stretching and those little small adjustments we can make throughout the day can really make a huge difference. I'm seeing people saying they start to see a change in their eating habits. Somebody else said they get snappy too. When it's empty, there's nothing left but fumes. Yes, Shavandra, it can get really, it affects our mood, our attitude. So yeah, I'm thinking just being mindful of when I start to see these shifts in my life, it's time for me to stop and say, I have to put me back as a priority. Because as you said, and I love this point, and I say it all the time to clients, you're working and you're working. They may take a moment of silence for you. And that's gonna be there'll be some emails, your family may get some flowers, but the business itself is not going to stop because you did. And so if we don't take care of ourselves, and that's the mental, that's the physical, we run a risk of really hurting ourselves, our family, the things that we cherish, if we just say, I'm going to go all gas in this one area.
Yeah, I think one thing too to think about is when you start to understand that you have to have someone to talk to, and maybe you don't have a community, right? Maybe you're building kind of what that looks like. I will tell you, my saving grace was the fact that I had a safe place. You have to find a safe place to download. And so you may be saying, how in the world do you figure out where a safe place, or how can I select, how do I know what's a safe place? And well, let's look at it this way. So when you were going to get married and you selected a husband, right? You had a list of, well, let me back up, because some of us are in marriages that God never told us to be in first. So maybe that's not a good example of where we're going, right? Maybe let me back up off that. Let's say you were going to select a college, and you had a list, you had a criteria of the things that would make this college the best college for you. But maybe you only selected it because there was some type of financial hole that you could only go. Well, that's probably not a good one either, right? So house, right? So let's say you went to buy a house.
We got this example.
Things, right? You had a list of things that you wanted in the house. It had to have a 3-car garage. It had to have 4 bedrooms. It needed to be 3.5 baths. Oh, I need the double oven because we like to cook over here. There's a list of things. You even told the contractor, you know what? I don't like the shade of beige that you have on the wall. I need you to change the paint on the wall, right? You were very selective when you sought out what you were going to buy in that house and what you were going to pay for. But we go select a safe place because Joe was the first person in the office that ever said anything to me, and I'm just going to go to Joe, right? You didn't put any thought into the safe place to protect the thing that's the most important, which is you.
That's so good.
You gave it no thought, right? You went and found a temporary spot, Joe, to go over here and pour all of your stuff out to, and Joe couldn't care less about you and the things that you're bringing to him. But he was the first person that said, hey, in the office, and Joe's a real nice guy. And so I'm going to go talk to Joe. But you take time for everything else. You go back to the house. You literally have the list of things that you said that you were checking off your list. Why don't you take the same care with the people that you put in your life that you're going to call your safe place, your safe space? If you can't go to the safe place and say, hey, I'm struggling. I am struggling. I need to have a vulnerable moment here. I need to share some concerns. Hey, I have some doubts about if I'm performing, if I'm being able to work through this, right? And if you can't go to your safe place, if you think you have a safe place today, and if you ask yourself these questions, can I go to that place if I have a doubt, if I'm a little nervous about something, if I want to be vulnerable, is this the place that I would go? Can I talk through if I'm making a mistake, if I thought I made a mistake? And if your answer is no, you are not as safe as you think you are, and you need to get out of there. That is not the place that you need to be.
Oh, I love that feedback. I love that, Khe-Shun, because I think so many people, when it comes to work, they did just like you, and they found Joe, and then they realized Joe wasn't safe. Joe didn't keep their secrets. Joe maybe didn't know what to tell them when they really needed help, and then they're offended with Joe, and because they put expectations on Joe that he never agreed to. Joe said, I spoke and you came and told me about all of this stuff.
I asked you to go there and talk, and here we are.
So go ahead, everybody in the comment, put down, I need a safe place. Go put that in the comment section. I need a safe place. And you do. And I think that's really important. And as a counselor, I'm always advocating to people, seek a counselor. The great things about counseling is we are bound by confidentiality unless you're about to hurt yourself or somebody else, or there is some major, child abuse. What you tell us is safe. We're not going to, we're unbiased. We don't know your coworkers. We don't know any of those things. And so seeking out counseling, we're just a safe community where you can go. So many people are trying to do life alone, and they're trying to navigate just based on themselves. And even though we may be great at helping other people, we cannot always see the blind spots in our own lives. And that's why, as you talked about, that community, that safe place, it's so important that we stop and we say, it's okay for me to let my guard down and heck, be able to cry. You need to have somewhere where you could cry and it's not going to come back and bite you.
And the one safe place, like I may be able to go to you for work, Nitra, right? I may be able to go, everything work, I can go to Nitra. If I'm having an issue with in my marriage, I may say, Crystal Robinson, we got to have a conversation. I need to talk, right? You don't have to make one person the person that has all the answers. You get to decide, just like you decided you didn't want that color of paint on the wall. You get to decide who the person is, what you share, how much you share. And you did, and guess what? If it doesn't work out, guess what? It's okay. You don't have to stay there. Move. You can. Now, I would tell you, if you always not being able to find a safe place, it may be that you have a problem with accountability. So maybe the person that's trying to help you is trying to give you some accountability if you're running from place to place to place. But there may be an instance where there may be someone that you may have for a certain thing, a certain season in your life. And I wouldn't talk to a single person about marriage. Why? What are you going to tell me? What do you know about it, right? You would not be the person that I would be going to for help. If you've never, ever, if the only thing you've ever done is worked hourly, you can't tell me probably how to navigate in corporate. Like the two don't match. And so I think you have to be real intentional about how you move in and out of these relationships and the people that you allow to come in and what you allow people to pour into you. Because not everything, I think someone said the other day, you eat the meat and spit the bones out. Like you can't absorb all of it, right? Not everything is meant for you to absorb, but you have to be aware enough to understand what parts of that stay and what parts of that go.
Yeah. I think that's so important. Tell me, Khe-Shun, for yourself, have you had to navigate or overcome any like mental health, depression, anxiety, grief, shame, low self-esteem, any of those things? Because mental health obviously is such a huge umbrella. How you've navigated those issues in your life and still maintain professionalism?
So probably the one that's been the most recent would be grief. So my niece, and I think you probably know Courtney Nitra, she had sickle cell. She collapsed in the house. She passed away, 30 something, just totally unexpected. And that was like if I had a picture, you would see her and you would say, oh, that's your daughter. Like people used to think that she was my kid. And so when that happened, that was like it was like someone literally took my heart and ripped it in two. Like I did not know. And I think, oh, wait, I'm sorry. Ma'am? Okay. Yes. Okay. The one thing that I think that really, it was the hurt for my sister who had lost a son at the age of 4 to sickle cell. And so it was this, both of your children, like you don't have either of your children. And trying to be the person in the family, like I'm the person, if we got problems, we just gonna sit down and figure it out, we're gonna solve them, right? I couldn't solve it. Yeah. Like there was nothing I could do. There was no fix that I could do to make her feel better about it, which really put this really heaviness on me, like a wet blanket that I couldn't even get off, or I couldn't breathe, like you were suffocating. I actually had to go talk to someone about it. And it couldn't be someone in my family because they're all dealing with the same thing in their own way. And I think for me, it was recognizing, I still was pumping it out at work, like I still was coming in getting it, but I was drained. Like I was going to ask you, did you take any time off?
It sounds like you just kept going.
I kept going, which probably wasn't the smartest thing to do, even if it had been 3 days, 5 days, whatever it was. I just kept going. And so I still was giving it all at work, but it was crumbling over here at home because I'm the superstar at work. I have to make sure, they have to see what they see and I have to give what I give. And it was through that I realized that was not a good space to be in because I could have been much happier, quicker. I could have worked through it, resolved it. I could have been performing well in both areas, right? Personal and professional. And it's this feeling that you get when you feel like you're spinning out of control, like you don't have any control, not spinning out of control. Y'all know me well. I don't spin out of control a lot. But this feeling that you didn't really have control, that really made me understand. Like I've started to realize I'd go home, girl, I just climb in the bed. It was no, don't talk to me, none of the things. And then it was, I had a conversation with someone that was helping me work through it. And it was, what would Courtney say if she could see you right now? If she could see you right now, what would she say? I said, she would say, TT girl, get up and wash your face and get on, like I'm good. And it was that when I could put myself to say she would not want me to be here, that really gave me the turning point. But I think it was not, I wouldn't have gotten there had I not been able to have conversations with someone that could help guide me through it because I couldn't see my way through.
Yeah. So what I heard was you kept going, but you did at least reach out to someone to help you navigate that. And I want to encourage people, if you need to, take those 3 days. A lot of corporations even have that into their policies and different things that we just go, I can't. And I'm not saying, again, you have to take these large chunks of time off, but if you need to take 1 or 2 days, it's okay to allow your body, your mind to just try to process and get through that. And I think specifically, and this is maybe an overgeneralization, but I think with Black women, Black people, we have been so conditioned to just push emotions to the back and say the show must go on, and we just keep going and we keep going, and we don't allow ourselves permission to have that moment to say, yeah, no.
Because when you don't deal with it, when you don't deal with the things that are unseen, right? The things, the anger, the depression, the anxiety, it'll show up physically. You won't sleep, you'll have headaches. It will show up outwardly. If you don't deal with the things that are internal, they will show up, they will manifest differently.
Which is why I really advocate for corporations to push their employees to seek help. Because think about it, if you don't, then they're missing for sick days. Then their productivity is not as high and the quality is not as good. And so that's what I'm saying. Hey, when you start to look at it and say mental health is a corporate concern, because if our people are healthy and operating at a high level, man, you have great creativity, you have high production, you have great performance. And so I'm constantly telling people, if I'm talking to people who make those types of decisions, hey, encourage your employees, get some counseling, get some whatever it is that they need so that they can continue to be effective and
well, even people will say, I need a mental health day. Bye, see you while you're here. If you're leading people, I think as a leader of people, you have to recognize when someone, you may not know the what it is, and that's okay not to know the what, but I think you should know your people well enough to know when something's when something's off center. And you should be able to go to the person and have the conversation and say, hey, notice that whatever the thing is everything okay? Is there something you need to, like, you can do that. Don't do it if that's not your character to do it. For me, it's within my character. People would not expect me to do that. I would just ask the question, is everything okay? Is there something I can help you with? And do it in a location that's private. Like, don't get in the middle of the total floor and start asking people. You be coming in late to work every day, and there's a way to do it that still allows you to have some grace with people and to be able to extend grace to people that will make people open up to you. If you're leading teams, if you're leading people, there should be something inside of you that makes you concerned for the things that concern them.
So what would you say to someone, Khe-Shun, who is struggling, but they so desperately want to do well? Like, maybe they're just starting off, or they're going for a promotion or whatever, and they're saying, no, I can't take off. I need to say yes to every project. Like you talked about yourself. I need to say yes to every project. I need to stay late. I need to do these things so they can see that I'm a good worker, so they can see that I will do what it takes. I've got motivation and all of those things, although they may know that they are, spinning, what is it, burning at both ends, or that they've got other things going on.
I think you can walk them through the things that they aren't doing well, because just because they're doing a lot of things, right, and just because they're staying late, there's probably some misses within the work that they're producing that may have taken a hit because of all of this extraness that they're putting on it. I think if you can identify and say, Nitra, I know that you're staying late, and I know that you're not, you're eating lunch at your desk and you're trying to get through this project. Here's what I'm seeing. Your team doesn't feel supported. You've missed a couple of deadlines on a couple of other things. You seem to be singularly focused on this one thing, but you're leading a team of 700 people. Here's how I need you to shift. Tell me shift how you're working this process. Tell me how I can help you, because it feels like to me that maybe you just need a day to go chill out. And sometimes, and I've done this, and people will come back and say, no. And I say, well, we can do this your way or my way. Like, you can agree that you need to take the day off, work from home if that's what it is, right? But working from home for me means you should only be checking email. Just check an email to see if there's anything urgent from your team, but I need you to go home. I don't need you logged on. Or I can write you up if you don't take the day off, right? Like, right? But I think sometimes you just have to be really, really, I say that in all jest, but I think you have to have the conversation about the productivity of the person and about the gaps that may be showing up in the work that they're producing, because they think they're clicking on all cylinders and they're not. And I think if you can show them where they're missing it and give them options to be able to be more productive by becoming more aware, that you can get people to see, oh yeah, I didn't know that. But sometimes you're moving so fast, you don't see what you don't see.
Yeah. I think that's good. And I love the fact that as a person in charge, as in leadership, that you're recognizing and able to say to the people that work for you, hey, I see that you need a break. And there are people who don't work for bosses who care enough to say you need a break. As long as you're there and you're doing what they need. What would you say for the people who don't have the boss who actually cares about them?
You have to be an advocate for yourself. And so you all I gave back PTO days. I got in trouble from my coach because I didn't take the time off that I had earned. I would tell you to be an advocate for yourself first, because if you don't advocate for yourself, no one is going to advocate for you like you will. And you have days that you can take off. You have PTO days or vacation days, whatever you call them, where you work. Utilize them. Take the day and just utilize it.
Okay, so one more question. What advice would you give somebody in corporate that's struggling with their mental health right now?
Make you the priority. It would be similar to what I just said. You have to make yourself the priority. Like, no one knows if you don't share it. Some people won't care, right? And so if you can find someone that you haven't to hold you accountable, you need an accountability partner that will say, you know what, Nitra, you're a little bit out of balance here. Here's what I'm seeing. But if you don't have that, I think it's real easy just to go, because you get to do it your way. And I think once you can find a good group of people, a person, could be just a person, and it may be that you do it for each other. But I think that you have to find 2 hours a week, right? This would be what I would tell you. This week, find 2 hours a week, plot out the 2 hours a week, 2 hours a week that you're going to dedicate to just you. And once you start to do this, it'll become easier. Some of y'all are like, oh Lord, 2 hours, 2 whole hours? That's hard. It is hard. But if you don't take care of you, again, no one else will. You are the MVP. You are the most valuable player in this scenario. You are. your health is, your physical health and your mental health both are. Find something you like to do and laugh. Like there's a Stevie Wonder song, I think it's Do I Do. When I need to move, honey, I put that song on. It's the beat for me. I don't even know the words, but I'll pull out a beat and I'll karaoke it. I don't even know the words. The beat of the song is what gets me energized. Find something that you like to do that makes you laugh. If it's a silly movie that you used to watch, go rewatch it. If it makes you laugh and makes you happy and can get you to release some of those endorphins, go do it. Drink water. Get on a healthier eating habit. These are all things I'm doing myself, right? Get in motion. So sometimes you go and it's easy just to go, you work the 10, 12 hours a day, and then you go home and you're sedentary, right? And then you wonder why you're gaining the weight, you aren't getting in and you aren't doing anything to help build your own physical health. I think that you have to reevaluate the people that are pouring into you, and you have to reevaluate where you're pouring.
Oh, that's good.
You can change friends as needed. You can change friends as needed. It's the whole oil and water, right? If you're oil and oil mix as well, right? Oil and water don't mix. And so if the person that you're pouring into or that's pouring into you, you'll know if it's the right fit. And if it's the right fit, you don't have to stay there. You don't have to hang on to it. Make the adjustment. Give yourself some grace would be another thing that I would tell you, because you have to understand that to get a different result, you have to do something different, right? And that if you don't do something different, it could be very detrimental to your mental health and or your physical health. And then the last thing I would tell you is to talk to someone. You are not alone. Like talk to someone.
Oh my gosh, what happened? Where'd you go?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. I lost you for a second.
Oh, sorry.
There you go. I was like, where did she
go? Talk to someone. That was the last one. Talk to someone. Talk to someone.
Okay, I think that list is great. And I'm seeing people over here, they're appreciating that list. Get some help. Eat healthy, move your body, have a team. And by team, and I think so many people are not, Khe-Shun and I are in the same community. And we intentionally set ourselves in this community, and everybody doesn't have that particular type of environment. But I think people do have to be really intentional about building that support system, because if you don't build that support system, when life starts coming, and sometimes life comes really fast and it comes really quickly, if you don't have that support system that you've intentionally built, you will be like Khe-Shun was talking about, just grabbing somebody because you're desperate. And then it feels like you're not supported the way you want to be supported, because they don't have the skills. They don't maybe not even have the desire to be a part of your support system. You just kind of pull somebody in. And so definitely listen at those tools. This is some great information. I want you guys to take a minute. We're almost done, but I want you to take a minute to share this broadcast, share it to people that you know in corporate. Heck, it's good even if you're not in corporate. So go ahead and make sure that you guys are sharing this. I also want to encourage everybody. Most of you know that I'm a counselor. I am conducting a 14-day minding my mental health challenge, right? And what's the purpose of this? It is 14 days of learning practical skills of how you navigate your mental health. And so every day, every morning, I will give a mental health challenge. So it may be something about how to establish boundaries. It may be something about how to take care of yourself, how to recognize certain positive or negative thought patterns. And so every day you do this. And then we even have an active Q&A session where you can ask questions to me about your mental health concerns, issues. We had people asking about, hey, should I get off my medication? I've been doing really great. And so we were able to navigate some, very specific things. And so I want everybody, usually I'm like, if you think this applies, no, you need it. So I want you guys to go. It's only $15. Again, that is 14 days of getting these challenges and having access and building a support system for you to learn. And so go ahead and sign up for that mental health challenge. It's called Minding My Mental Health. I'm going to post that in the comment section. I'm so excited to have Khe-Shun. I think you did such a great job.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Amazing job. Y'all let Khe-Shun know she did a great job.
Oh, thanks. The very last thing I will say is, so if you struggle with minding your mental health and you need the tools, you really should take the 14-day challenge. Like if you think that you are out of whack, if you think that you don't quite know how to set yourself up for success, take the challenge. Get the tools in your toolkit so that you can start building up on them to make sure that you are healthy mentally, because it does carry over to your physical. You cannot do it if you don't have a foundation. Go sign up, get the foundations. Let's all be healthy.
You got your sorority sisters out here giving you shout outs. Great job. Everybody saying a great job, Khe-Shun. You already know I love you. I have mad respect for Khe-Shun. Again, she gave some really great tips, some really great tools. And honestly, they're good across the board. It's not just for corporate. I just know she rocks in that corporate space. And so I want to have people from different genres. So we've had someone we talked to Pastor Edwin from the Christian pastoral perspective. We talked to Maggie Bush, who was a writer at the Tyler Perry Studios. We talked to Crystal Robinson, I think that was last week, from the entrepreneurial space. And today we had Khe-Shun Robinson Henry, who talked about from that corporate space. And again, she did an amazing job. Y'all show some love for her. Share this broadcast. Sign up for the challenge. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to start March the 1st. I want to get those that word out there. So you guys share about the challenge as well. We'll be back here. Now, it won't be the same time. We're going to be back at our regular time, which is 12 p.m. on Thursdays. I know Khe-Shun has a meeting, so I don't want to keep her too long. I want her to still be in excellence and take care of herself in all areas. So again, thank you so much, Khe-Shun. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. I enjoyed having this conversation. And if you ever need anything, let me know. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.